God took me there. He led me there. He taught me there. He showed me what I wanted, what he needed to give me there. And now he's taking me home. So I left church and I made 2 phone calls. One was to the airline. $260. Could have been $1 million because I didn't have it. The second one was to my wife, whom I had not spoken to but twice in 3 months. And everybody told her, get rid of him, dump him, he's bad news, forget him. And my phone rang and she picked up and I said, I'm here and I really would like to come home if you would accept me. And she said, I have 2 things to tell you. Number 1, a lady just left the house and gave me an envelope and said, do what is best for your family with this money. Now there's only $260 in the envelope, but if it'll help you get home, you come home. Before you ask, I will answer.
Yeah.
That's the text. And the second thing she said was, just before you left, I got pregnant. And my son was on the way. 3 days later, I land in Portland, Maine. I stepped down. Now, back in those days, you didn't have these fancy roll-out gates. You know, you walk down the steps and across the tarmac of the airport. And my 4-year-old daughter came running across the tarmac saying, Daddy, I told them you'd be home for Christmas. I prayed and God told me you would be home for Christmas, but they didn't believe me. That girl today is the principal of the Christian school about 1.5 miles from here. God does what he says he's going to do. All right, breaking chains. God's way of overcoming addictions. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I consecrated, I set you apart. You know, God knows all about you. Before, he knows all about you. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for calamity. Now the old King James read, plans for good and not for evil. To give you a future and a hope, and the King James says, an expected end. How many have read Jeremiah 29 before? And picked out those words, an expected end. All right, what was my expected end? He that has begun a good work in you will finish it. I have an expected end. You have an expected end. And we're going to make it. We're going to succeed. All we have to do is stay on board the boat.
Yeah.
Next thing I learned was this. Look at this verse. This is Psalm chapter 22 and verse 3. We take it from the King James. It says, but thou art holy, O thou that inhabits the praises of Israel. God inhabits. What's inhabit? Lives inside the praises of Israel is his people. How many of you have ever heard the text, Christ in you, the hope of glory?
Yes.
Well, how do you express that? I have Christ in me. How do I express it? How does Christ, if Christ is in me, how does he get out of me?
Praise.
Praise. But I was taught my whole life, you go to God and you say, oh God, please, oh God, please, oh God, please, oh God, please. Right? Please take away this temptation. This kid walks in the room, this man walks in the room, this woman walks in the room. I'm tempted. God, help me. How about saying, God, I thank you and praise you that you are in control of this situation and this battle's already over. Is there any difference there?
Yeah.
It's the difference between begging and praising. But what were we created to do? Praise. Okay. We'll stop the religion. We're going to go to physiology. You've had the psychology all day, right? Let's do the physiology. Did you know that in your brain, every cell has a thought? Or there's a portion of your brain that retains thoughts. And if you take the top of your head off, and I've had that wonderful experience, there's a scar from here to here to prove it, he can stick an electrode in there and turn a little electron on, and guess what? You get a full picture of something. Everything you've ever thought, ever done, ever seen is in there. Right? So every cell contains a thought. So from here on in, cells equal thought. Now, this is a little bit more complicated, but not much. You have a thought, you have another thought, you have another thought. You're driving down the road, you see Baskin Robbins. Thought, I like ice cream. Second thought, I really like butter pecan ice cream. Third thought, turn left, you dummy. Get some ice cream. But you're diabetic. Who cares? I want ice cream. Right? Change it to another thing. Here comes a good-looking person. Women, here comes a good-looking guy. Okay? In fact, he's a little more than good-looking. And you look at him and you say, whoa. Oh, he's a real good-looking guy. Huh? The teenagers say, I wonder if I can send him a text message. I told you about sexting. You know how it works. And before you know it, what happens? You're down the tubes. So the way this works is this. There is a thought, but what you have not been told is between the cells is what's called a synaptic connection. And it has a chemical in it that transports electricity from one cell to the next cell, right? So now we have a cell, electric, cell, electric, cell, electric. And everything you do is a chain of cells. This is physiologically correct. That even has a name. It's called acetylcholine. Okay? All right, we'll do the next slide. Did you know that if you can change focus for 60 seconds, the acetylcholine dissipates and will no longer carry the electric charge? 60 seconds. Okay, anybody here from out of state? Okay, you're from?
Florida.
And where are you from?
Louisiana.
Where?
Louisiana.
Where?
Louisiana.
Oh, Louisiana. Oh, that country over there. Okay, yeah, I know a lot of people. How many are native-born Texans? Oh, wow, we got it. I'm one of them bleep Yankees. You know that? No, she knew that. Oh, okay. I'm never going to be forgiven. You know, that war is over, but I'm never going to be forgiven. That kind of stuff. In fact, up in New England, we have our own language up there. You know, if you're not born in Maine, you're from away. Away, yeah. And you know that you can live in a house for 75 years, and someone will say, "Oh, that's the guy that's from away." You'll never become a Mainer. In fact, they say that becoming a Mainer, or maniac, depending on how you look at it, a Mainer is about as easy as putting biscuits in an oven and bringing out kittens. Can't be done. I will never be a native Texan, right?
Implant.
Oh, I'm an implant. Is that the term? Implant, huh? Okay. Now let me ask you a question. What was the name of the chemical I was talking about?
Acetylcholine.
Okay. How many of you really had to think? You see, I did what God does. I got you on a subject, then I changed your thought pattern for 60 seconds. You ought to see how I do this with kids. I start talking about good-looking girls or good-looking boys. And then I come back and I take them someplace else and I say, and what was the name of that chemical? And are you still feeling that same feeling that you had a few minutes ago? And guess what? That feeling is gone with the kids. Because physiologically, it takes 60 seconds to break the chain. Then you have to go back and restart the thought. And if you want to do it, you can do it. I used to teach stop smoking classics. One of the techniques that we used was, if you want a cigarette, go get a drink of water. By the time you get to the water fountain, take a drink of water, you will have forgotten about the fact that you wanted a cigarette. Because the acetylcholine is gone, and you beat the habit that one time. All right. Philippians chapter 4.